It's time to take the pooch out. At least that's what I told Bunny. After 4 years of not leaving China, being cooped up, crammed up, and, yes, locked up. Thank you, lockdown of Shanghai 2022. It was time to get out. Our rescue for leaving China for a little vacation wasn't complicated, really, anywhere, so long as it wasn't China. And so, we did. We packed some bags, jumped on an airplane, and 24 hours later, we found ourselves in Portugal. And it was amazing. We didn't go for shopping or anything really than just to recharge our batteries. While I'm there, I took absolutely no video even. But I did take a lot of photos on my Fuji X100v. Yes, I know. There's a new one out, and I'm sure it's going to be fantastic. But you know what? I took some amazing photos on what I had, and I'd like to share those. You know, a story is kind of interesting in that, just like a book is different from the movie, in that you get caught up in the narrative, reading between the lines, as it were. Photos tell a story kind of in a way that a video just cannot. The wonderful thing about traveling with a camera is it does make you intimately more familiar with how it works. It makes you appreciate your own skill as a photographer, or lack thereof. While I do not play a photographer on television, I do imitate one in the classroom where I teach a local photography class to students, which I am in no way qualified to teach. But one does their best anyway. Although I do have a tendency to leave the aperture wide open at f2 most of the time, as I find I get the best results that way, particularly out of a camera with a prime lens that has no zoom, and if you want to get close to something, you literally have to walk up there and poke your nose in whatever you want to photograph. I've noticed there's typically two schools of thought when one takes photos. There's your spray and pray, and there's your more deliberate shots. I tend to be more of the latter, whereas my wife tends to be more of the former. As she's taking shots, she will typically put the camera into portrait mode and just snap away. And out of 50 shots, she's hoping one of them looks fantastic. Whereas I will tend to put the camera more into landscape mode, pulled over from videos like this, and I tend to be more deliberate in my shot. Is there a right way? No. It's just a matter of what you feel comfortable in doing. And when you're shooting photos, typically that's the best thing to do. Shoot what you enjoy. Shoot what feels comfortable to you. Shoot what makes you feel good. And hopefully the results will tender that. The beautiful thing with going around with a camera that has one lens built into it is you really don't have to take a lot of gear with you. What you see is what you get. And typically that works great when you're just going around seeing sights. Now, the bad part about that is things that are wide open, things that you want to grab that are not natively in your field of view, you may not get. And with only a 26 megapixel camera, you don't have the option to punch in too much because you get a little pixelated views at that point. One thing I've noticed is you have a lack of ability to take photos of yourself or you and your loved one with you. And by that I mean, yes, of course, you could put the camera on a tripod and stand back. The problem is, A, you're either using a timer and you have 3 to 10 seconds depending on where you set it to actually compose your shot, get in it, and smile pretty, or you have to set the app. Now, the Fuji X app works pretty good for moving photos off the camera and onto your phone. The problem is taking live photos with it just sucks donkey balls. It is really slow to connect and even slower to acquire yourself. You could use a remote trigger, I suppose. The problem is, unless you want to have a lot of cable, it's really not functional, particularly when you're out and about in another country. Oh no! It's just not always the best option. Cannot trust most people with your camera. Even if you could, most of the time they're not going to be familiar with your camera settings, so be prepared for nice blurry photos. Or if you do give your camera to someone, there is the possibility they will turn tail and run. That does present a problem if you enjoy keeping your camera. So the result is either you just resort yourself to taking a couple photos on your cell phone, or you carry a big tripod, remote trigger, and or app with you at all times. And that's not always practical when you're running around all the multiple hills and nooks and valleys of Lisbon. Now, the Fuji X100V is natively 23 millimeters on a fixed f2 lens. That means if you want to take anything wider, either you need to step back a little bit from your target, say like Mozambique, or you get a wide adapter. They do make a wide angle adapter for the X100V, which I was using most of the time. Now, that does kind of contradict the whole point of the camera in that it's a light point and shoot range file camera that you can just whip out of your pocket at any time and take a photo. When you have the wide angle adapter on there, unfortunately, now you've got some pretty heavy kit. One of the big draws to the Fuji cameras is the film simulations, aka the recipes. And yes, of course, I have a number of them dialed into my camera, and I have a number of them for use at any one time. But I don't end up using them that much. First of all, I find that if I want to make a lot of changes, I can just do that in post. I want it to be black and white, have a funky green tint, or generally look different. I can do that in post. But it is kind of nice every now and then when you're composing a shot to make it nice acros and black and white, or do something funky. Yes, of course, it's fun. But as I'm taking photos, I'm generally caught up in the moment, spending time with my wife and just enjoying where we are. So I'm not so much concerned about the film simulations and getting the right recipe dialed in as I am just composing the shot, taking the shot, and then enjoying my time together. So let's talk about trade-offs when you're carrying a camera around versus trying to take all your photos on one of these. Yes, of course, the cell phone is going to be very convenient. You can pull it out of your pocket, take a photo, and move on. Whereas with a dedicated camera, yes. Unfortunately, you either have it dangling around your neck or you have it strapped to your hand. That does create certain difficulties. For example, if you find yourself eating, you either have to set it on the table, put it away in a bag. As you're walking around, you find you have one less thing to hold on to because your hand is constantly full. But I find the trade-offs definitely be worth it because the best camera, of course, is the one you use. And if I'm carrying around my camera in my hand, I'm almost guaranteed to be able to have it, turn it on, and be able to grab that shot in seconds. Whereas even if I have my cell phone in my pocket, by the time I pull it out, turn the camera on, I may have missed the shot. So to me, the trade-off is definitely worth a slight bit of inconvenience, particularly when you're traveling. course, you're not always going to have your camera ready and able to go. For example, in an airport, on an airplane, a lot of times I always have my camera in a bag. It's not worth pulling it out, getting it ready to go, because I'm not in the place where I can use it effectively. And for that instance, again, your iPhone is the way to go. Likewise, if I'm at dinner, sometimes I'll have the camera ready to go, but generally you have to just pick and choose when you use the camera. And so there's going to be times when you have it, and there's going to be times when you don't. So pick and choose your opportunities, because those are when your photos are going to count. Don't be selfish with the camera. Yes, it may be true that I may take better photos than my wife. However, that doesn't mean I should be solely just caught up in the moment with the camera, because the trip is about her. It's about us. It's not about the photos. Yes, the photos are going to be the aftermath and the proof you have of the trip, but that's not the point. So, by all means, be prepared to share the camera with someone you're with. Teach them how to use it. Yeah, they may never be as good as you, and that's just fine. Some of those photos may have misfocus, they may have, bad placement, they may have bad composure, and that's fine. Because we're not out there trying to score a, National Geographic photo, Better Homes and Gardens, or something that we're going to post in the travel magazine. Not the point. The point is, we're trying to document our trip, our time together. And so, yeah, if we do miss some shots, so be it. The point is, you know what? We enjoyed the time. We enjoyed the time together. And that's much more important than getting the most excellent of photos. Workflow is also important when it comes time when to take the photos and when not to. So as we're going to a place, I generally will leave the camera in the bag until we get there. Then it comes out and it stays on the hand. We go about, one hand in her hand, the other hand on the camera. And when it comes time to take a photo, I'll let her know, snap the shot, and move on. So in a given day, running around, I may have taken, 200-300 photos, which seems like a lot, but really isn't many at all when you consider the time in and about and traveling. Once it's time to finish the day's traveling, put the camera up. Again, don't be so absorbed in getting the perfect shot. The perfect shot is not the goal of going out. You're simply trying to document your experience together. Everyone will eventually get tired of taking photographs. And so you can't constantly be asking your wife, girlfriend, or someone you're traveling with, hey, go over here, hey, go over there, hey, pose in front of this, hey, stop it. You can't do that constantly. Pick and choose your photos. Pick what's important to you. Pick what matters to you. Don't try to be grabbing 10,000 photos of them in front of Mickey Mouse, because eventually the good smile is going to turn into a forced smile, and it's going to turn into a look of sheer contempt. You just have to choose your photos and choose what you're doing. Can't say it enough times. Be aware of why you're traveling, and not that you're just out trying to snap photos. Be in the moment. Well, that's it. That's what I got for Lisbon in Portugal. But I did actually take a lot of photos also in Madrid, Spain. So if you guys are interested in seeing that, leave me a message in the comments below. Maybe I'll make a video about my pictures and show my pictures from Madrid, Spain as well. Well, hey, I appreciate you guys joining me. And like anything else, we'll catch you in the next video. Kind of different, I know, but it's a lot of fun. We'll see you around.
And just like that, we've reached the end of the video, which means you now have the opportunity to smash, wham, slam, and wallop that subscribe button, thus never again missing another SnarkyGuy video. And not too hard now, a keyboard is a terrible thing to waste. Click the bell icon to get notified, of course. In the meantime, here's a few more SnarkyGuy videos, because
I know you're gonna dig this.